That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports. Dennis, how are you this morning?
Clearing the pepper spray out of my lungs, but good. Yeah, good.
Hey, as fit as you are, I'm surprised they would go anywhere near you with any sort of hostility.
It was actually a 22-year bookend. I was there in '02 when Ohio State beat Michigan to go to the Fiesta Bowl and win the national championship. They gassed the fans to keep them away from the goalpost. So it was something important, you know. And then this, I don't know what was going on. There was like 5 jurisdictions out there, and some knucklehead pulls out pepper spray like that, you know, like it's going to pour out into the streets or something. So it was a bit ridiculous.
Dennis, it obviously wasn't just Ohio State, Michigan. Was there something in the water in college football this weekend? What was going on?
Yeah, it was just, look, it's all too important. We've made all of it. Sports, you know, rivalries, everything. It's just too important. I thought Pat Forty wrote a good column in Sports Illustrated. That was his column. It's like, this has gone over the top. And I tweeted yesterday, I said, the first conference that bans these flags gets a cookie because it has to be done. They can bring them out on the field, you know, fly them around before the game, get everybody fired up, but put them in a tunnel, never to be seen again on game day. I'm sorry. Is it worth it? I don't think so. So I would expect that to have $100,000 fines aren't going to get it. I think we know that.
So in a day and age, Dennis, where we're fining schools but players are being paid, could you see players ever being fined?
That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that. That would have to be an agreement or collectively bargain with the school. As it is now, no. Because they are still student athletes, we are told. But, you know, you had this situation where in July, Kirby Smart at SEC Media Days said his players had been fined by the collective for acting up, for being knuckleheads. And it never really went anywhere. Everybody went, oh, my God. And he brought it up. You know, there's all these traffic things, and it never happened. So I guess in that regard, I guess it could, but, you know, kind of a sidebar to this right now.
Dennis, talking about actual football that happened on the field, there was plenty of that as well. Let's stick there with Michigan and Ohio State for a second. Just, I know that it's a rivalry, I know, but like, how shocked were you that game played out the way it did?
Oh, I was. There wasn't a person outside that Michigan locker room, and I don't even know, maybe inside the locker room, that believed Michigan's going to win. You know, you talk to the writers and John Jansen, who's great. I think he's a color guy from Michigan. He's great. And you just, you know, it's like, I said it. I think I wrote it. I said, Ohio State had four years to plan for this day, to wipe Harbaugh off the map, Connor Stallions, beat defending national championships, restore the order of the universe. And they came out flat. And that's exactly what it was, because I understand Michigan playing that way offensively because they don't have a quarterback and they don't have many skilled players. But Ohio State played right into Michigan's strength, which is their defensive line, kept running it up the middle. Then Will Howard had some bad plays. And that was it. And when you play that close in a rivalry game, you bring in missed field goals. You know, that comes into play, and obviously that was huge. So, no, it was I was shocked. I mean, as the fourth quarter progressed and Ohio State had the ball, Michigan had the ball, was driving, they're actually going to lose this game because Michigan's kicker is really, really good. This Zavada guy, transfer from Troy, 51 out of 56 in his career in field goals, 7 for 7 from beyond 50 this year. And so he wasn't going to gag it. I know that. He might have been the best weapon they had out there on Saturday.
So outside of the result, right, if that was how it was going to play out and Michigan was going to be in this thing, did you see 77 rushing yards for Ohio State or 42 rushing attempts? Because I get the result was surprising. But Michigan won with just 9 completions. Now, this is a Nebraska guy. And I just saw Iowa win completing 8. But Michigan won with 9 completed passes.
Right. I mean, think about this. Before the season, Ohio State arguably had the best running back room and the best receiving room in the country. And by the end of the season, that was certainly the case, at least in receiving. I think they had one play, Ohio State did one passing play over 18 yards. No, one play over 18 yards. I think Travion Henderson broke through for 24 yards rushing. They didn't take advantage of those receivers. They were throwing a lot of things laterally instead of north-south downfield. But you did have in the backfield an accomplished Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, who had led the SEC in rushing with 1,500 yards a couple of years ago. And what I called it is what I called it. It was a choke, and they came out flat. There's no reason that should have happened. The guys at the beginning of the week, last Monday, the spread of 23.5 for Ohio State was the largest in the series history. And it was 20.5 at kick. And so I think we all expected that. So Ohio State had to be an active participant in this sort of upset. It wasn't like, Michigan was going to come in there and blitz them with their running game, or no, they just hung around. So Ohio State gave it to them.
Dennis, at this point, and it feels dumb to say every time I say it out loud, but how hot is the seat for Ryan Day right now?
Oh, it's lava. It's melting the streets, the asphalt of Columbus. They're about ready to burn the place down. Now the next question is, what form does that take? Because you've got a situation where they're in the playoffs. They may host a first-round game based on their accomplishments. And so what happens then? He will at least ride out through that, obviously. But there's so many, I don't even know if the word is ironies or things you would never think of. This guy is 66-10 in his career. 4 of those losses, obviously, to Michigan. He's 1-4 against Michigan. I think the rest of the Big Ten, he's 43-1. There's something there he can't get over. And so they pulled their horns in. They got so conservative Saturday. Chip Kelly deserves some blame. And happened. The next question then is, get rid of him, who you going to get? I mean, he's built this thing to the point that he's the winning. Somebody's going to have access to the winningest coach in ball. But he can't beat Michigan. And I was told long ago by Lloyd Carr, love Lloyd Carr, I said, what's more important? Like national championship, Big Ten, Rose Bowl? Michigan is no question, Michigan. And we're seeing that play out in real time now. So if you're going to do something, who are you going to get? Because you're going to blow out the entire staff. Mm-hmm. $21 million on the roster, or $20 million on the roster. You're going to spend much more than that blowing out the staff. Who are you going to get?
Incredible. Dennis, would you rather be in Madison, Wisconsin after the 22-year drought, or in Stillwater, where you went winless in the conference?
Oh, wow. It's in terms of what, depression? Or
yeah, just the coaching. The coaching.
Yeah, Mike Gundy, and in that league, Mike Gundy could come back next year and win 9 and win the league. I mean, that's what the Big 12 is right now. I'm not saying it was just an off year. Right? It was his worst year he's ever had in his career. Where they lost the last 8 or something like that, I think. They were terrible, really terrible defensively, and it got really terrible offensively at the end. Luke Fickell, I think, entering year 3 has some promise, but there were obviously quarterback issues there. I don't know if they know what they wanted to be. Remember, it was going to be the dairy raid. They had Phil Longo, and they were going to come in, and Tyler Van Dyke, they're going to do all this stuff. And it's just, it was circle in a square peg. It didn't seem right, because you got to maintain some of that identity at Wisconsin. And at the end, like now, I don't know what they want to be. I know what Oklahoma State wants there. And I don't think Mike Gundy's going to retire. I think he's got, I don't think he's that old. I think he's early 60s, maybe not even 60.
I think he's 59, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite 60 yet.
So he's not even, it's not bad. So I think they've got a chance to not only, they're in better shape, I think he's got a chance in that league to rebound right away.
Yeah, 58, 57.
We're talking with Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports. Dennis, there's obviously already some openings in power conferences, whether it's Neil Brown at West Virginia, Ryan Walters at Purdue, Mac Brown at North Carolina. Are we in a position, whether it's Ryan Day, Mike Gundy, I don't know what's going to happen with Brent Venables or Hugh Freeze in their spots. Are we in a position we might see some enormous power jobs open this year?
No, in fact, this is played out like I thought it would. It's going to be a very slow carousel in the off season. Venable, safe. Who else did you mention?
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think Hugh Freeze comes back. They give him another year to see what's going on. He looks disinterested to me, but that's a different discussion.
I could see
they
that.
may not do
That's a good call.
Yeah, they may not do anything with Ryan Day. They make him change coaches. They're going to be good. And if they make a run, I mean, let's say they wipe the slate clean, they wipe the mental state clean, and they get to the championship or something like that. What do you do? It's a Michigan problem, and they have to go to Michigan next year. Don't forget that. But that was one of the all-timers. No, real quick on those openings. How about Rich Rod back at West Virginia?
Oh, I know it.
That's a thing. That's a thing. I think that might happen.
So let me
go ahead. Real quick on West Virginia. If you're West Virginia, would you rather have Rich Rod or Jimbo?
I've been told Jimbo's not
interested.
Either Jimbo's not interested or he is interested and they're not interested in him.
Interesting.
Because when you hire Jimbo, you bring everything we saw at Florida State with you.
Sure.
He's a little bit of a thing to handle. And so I've heard that they may not even be interested. He went back in.
Sure.
He'll have Jimmy Sexton, trying really, really hard, but that may not happen. I really like Rich Rod. Like the prodigal son comes home. Winning at Jacksonville State, playing for a championship this Saturday, obviously can still coach. And I really like Rich. I think that'd be fun.
Hey, let me ask you something, Dennis. And it's interesting because they played each other. But irrespective, without that game in your head, who do you feel like you're better capping, Georgia or Texas?
What do you mean capping?
Like who's the better? Like what kind of teams are there? It seems like they win, but it's like they get the buts. Like who do you feel like you know more about?
Oregon, given that they're the only undefeated team, I think they're not sneaky physical, but they're Big Ten physical. And Dan Lanning knew that and built them that way, and he had to. They had the one close game against Ohio State, and a really, really close game against Boise State, which is Boise's best entree into the playoffs. The best win is a loss. Oregon ran back a kick and a punt and had to kick a field goal at the end to win, I think. I definitely think I know more about Oregon because I'm not big on Quinn Ewers. Call me an idiot, but I just haven't seen him. I have to see him win this thing, and I think Texas fans have to see that. I think they want that. That's what they're thinking for Texas. This isn't if we get to the semis. We've seen that already. We saw them get knocked out in the first round last year after winning the Big 12. These are the two best teams in the country. At least they've proven it to this point. I don't think Penn State is. I don't think Notre Dame is. But I think I know a lot more about Oregon because Dylan Gabriel. This is a big Dylan Gabriel story for today. There's something about being a left-hander who can run, and who did that well. Tua Tagovailoa, and I'm not making him out to be a Heisman winner because he's in the conversation. You get to win it, but Tua Tagovailoa, Kenny Stabler. I'm throwing out some big names. Tim Tebow,
Steve Young,
and I think that gives him an advantage as a quarterback. They run it really hard with Jordan James. I think there's only 7 teams in the country that have allowed fewer touchdowns than Oregon, and I think all that travels. So I really think I know a lot more about Oregon.
So, Dennis, how do you feel about you're kind of looking at this deal? Do you like Tennessee
to do well in the playoffs?
Yeah,
I think they're a year away. I've seen them. I saw them once in person against Oklahoma, and Nico Imaleva is really good, but he's not there yet. He's one of those guys that will go 15 out of 25, but there's only like 3 of those passes where you really go, wow, what an arm, zipping it right in there. And he's capable, but he's not there yet. They're a running team. Their defense and Dylan Sampson as a runner. So in terms of, they'll be in the playoffs, But in terms of a team where you can start talking about them in a realm with Oregon and Texas this year, I think they're a year away. And let's see, by the way, since they're in the SEC, and it's hard to make progress. It's hard to repeat like this unless you're, do this back to back to back, unless you're Nick Saban. So we'll see. But I think they're a year away. That being said, Josh Heupel's done a fantastic job there, and I think it's 4th season.
So you kind of referenced them in passing, but I think you're in the majority. A lot of the national media doesn't seem to be huge fans of Notre Dame. I think they're pretty good. Is it the schedule knock?
I think if you watch them, it's sort of like Indiana, where if you just watch them, they're really good. Forget the schedule. But by the way, before I get into Notre Dame, no one in July was talking about how tough Indiana's schedule was. And if you had ever revisionist history, when you play Michigan, Ohio State, and the team that played Michigan for the championship, Washington, that's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Now Indiana can't help that Michigan's off, Washington's down. But anyway, Notre Dame's the same way. Yeah, you can say that about the schedule. Worst loss of any team in the playoffs. Northern Illinois finished 7-5. If they had won the MAC, maybe it's different. That was a bad loss. And so that's always in the back of your mind when you're talking about Notre Dame. That being said, I think they've got an elite defense. I think the Love kid at running back, I've been told that the people that watch Notre Dame, that he's the best running back they've had in years. We know what Riley Leonard is, if given time and space, as a run-pass guy. I don't know, and this was the problem in 2012, and this was the problem in 19, when they got to the BCS in the playoff and got boat raced both times. Their outside speed on the perimeter, it's going to be easy to shut them down if they have to pass. And they've struggled through the years getting those receivers. We talked about Ohio State. If Notre Dame gets a quarterback next year, look for Jeremiah Smith to get a lot of attention from Notre Dame as well as others. I think he's going to be maybe the number one target in the portal next year. But that's the reason. I think Notre Dame is the team that people are least likely talking about in the playoff that could make a run because of everything I've said, especially in weather. If they have to host that first round game and then go to, what bowl do they go to? I don't even know. We don't even know because the bowls are assigned to the conference.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where they go.
And most people would have them as the 5 or the 6.
Yeah, they're going to host. But I don't know where they'd advance to because Rose goes to Big Ten, Peach goes to ACC, Big 12 goes to Fiesta, and who am I missing?
There's the one the day before. Is it the Peach? Wait, who's on the third?
No,
somebody's on the third. Somebody who's on the 31st?
No, 20th and 21st.
I thought you meant the seed. Okay.
January 1st.
Yeah.
They all funnel into conference affiliated bowls. In other words, Oregon will be hosting in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I thought
you meant
unless they lose or something. That's to be decided. But I think Notre Dame matches up with anybody on that list in the playoff, except for that perimeter speed, which in this day and age is a pretty big exception.
Dennis, another team that I think people don't know what to do with or don't think much of, but is definitely going to find themselves in the playoff is Penn State. What do you do with Penn State?
I'm not big on Penn State.
They're interesting.
Yeah, I said they were my poster boy when the 12-team playoff came in. I said the best place to be in the SEC and Big Ten in the new playoff was going to be third place because you don't have to risk your record in a championship game. You can rest your team. You're not playing, and you're in the playoff. Well, what's Penn State been like all these years traditionally? Second or third in the East, third place overall in the Big Ten behind Michigan and Ohio State. I saw them against Ohio State in a game they should have won. I don't know if you guys remember that goal line series, 5 minutes left, at home trailing by 7. They got the best tight end in the country, Ty Warren, and it's not even close, by the way. He doesn't touch the ball. They run 3 runs into the middle of the line, and on 4th down, throw to a backup tight end who's triple covered, and that's your series. That to me is Penn State for the season, why they won't be able to do anything. They're going to lose to Oregon, I think. Then maybe host a game. I don't know, but I'm not fully convinced, that their quarterback can lead them, Drew Aller can lead them to a championship or even get them to the semifinals, because there's just something missing. I think Abdul Carter is one of the best defenders in the country.
Yeah.
But when it gets to be crunch time, I don't know. I mean, there's something missing there.
Dennis, of the championship games, and there's 6 of them, not one spread is more than 4. Surprised or about right, given how the season has gone?
Oh, I guess I'm surprised that the right teams got there. Maybe that's the thing. In the
not one more than 4.
Think of the 5 automatic qualifiers in the playoffs, because we know those conferences are in, the winners of those games. ACC, the first place team is SMU, who just got into a power conference.
Yeah.
SEC is Texas, first year in the SEC. Big Ten, Oregon, first year in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you sound like Coach McGuire now, because he's still mad at the lack of love from the Big 12 for the Big 12.
Yeah, Big 12, the first place team is Arizona State. Lucky to be picked up by the Big 12 in first place after being picked 16th. So, no, that's what I'm looking at. I think those games are set. There are 10 teams that are going to, that are in line right now for an automatic spot in the playoff. The 5 losers, I think we have to look at, because I think that's the number one story this week as it pertains to the ACC and SEC. You already see Lane Kiffin lobbying for Ole Miss. It's kind of an axis between Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama, SMU, and Miami, depending on who wins that ACC championship game.
Yeah,
that's the story I want to do this week. How do you keep conference affiliation out of the minds of those selection committee members? Because it's human nature.
Yeah, just don't ask Lashley or McGuire, because they'll tell you.
No, right. And Alabama's gotten every benefit of the doubt historically. 2011, they lose to LSU in rematch without even winning their division.
Yeah.
2017, I think it was the same way. And so they might get in this time. This is the worst, quote unquote, worst Alabama team since Nick Saban's first season in 07. I think we all agree on that. But in a 12-team playoff, and that's what makes it great, it allows you in.
That's Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Dennis, we appreciate the time as always. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Dennis.
All right. Thanks, guys.